In today's episode, we're talking about stress. Stress is something that will come up again and again in your life. So as a high performer, it's really important to have some keys and some tools so that way you can handle it and not let it stop you. So as you'll hear, I have a viewpoint that stress is something that can be mastered. I totally disagree with the idea that stress is just a normal part of everyday life and that there's nothing you can do about it. So of course, there's going to be challenges and there's going to be setbacks. But what I've found for myself and what I've proven with others is that no matter the situation, there are always ways that you can develop yourself to be more resilient and stay calm, clear, and in control under the pressure. So when it comes to stress, this is our goal. Always be growing and developing our ability to handle what comes our way. When stress genuinely hits us, because it will, implement the right tools and level up our inner game so that way we can meet the challenge head on and we can overcome it. We want the things that are stressing you out today to not even budge you in the future. This is going to allow you to go further, faster, and tackle bigger goals and have a greater impact. In this episode, I'm going to share with you the 3 keys that are going to help you do that. This is High Performance Unlocked.
Welcome to High Performance Unlocked. As a high performer, you know that your personal development is the defining factor of your success and the quality of your life. In each episode, international performance coach Ben Elliott will unpack proven, practical, and bulletproof strategies that he has been using to help unlock the success, the performance, and the mindsets of business owners and leaders from around the globe. So if you're ready to go to the next level, then stay tuned. If you want to get there faster, then visit highperformanceunlocked.com. Now, here's Ben Elliott.
Welcome to this episode of High Performance Unlocked, and we're talking about stress today. So stress is really important to master and overcome and really understand how do we navigate this thing, because it's going to be popping up in life. But as high performers, in order to have the success, the impact, and the fulfillment we want, we must understand this and we must master it. So this is the big thought, right? Stress will create a ceiling on how high you can go and how much impact you have. And the reason stress creates that lid or that barrier is because it reduces certain abilities that you need in order to perform at your peak. The higher the stress levels, the less ability and the less performance that you're going to have. So for example, stress is going to hinder these key abilities. It's going to hinder your decision making. It's going to hinder your problem solving. It's going to hinder your ability to stay focused. You're going to have less energy. The more stress you have, doesn't matter how well you eat, how much you exercise. If you have a lot of psychological stress, or you're carrying a lot of stress week to week, you're going to have reduced energy levels and you will be reliant on stimulants like coffee and all those types of things. Your ability to take action is going to be hindered. You know, the more you stress, the more likely you are to procrastinate or put things off until another day. It's going to affect your confidence, right? You might still kind of feel confident, but you won't be at peak bulletproof confidence like you need when you're worrying about other things and other factors. It's obviously going to affect your sleep, and you need sleep in order to do deep, focused work, and you need sleep to have good energy and recover, and also feel fulfilled and enjoy life. Stress hinders your ability to perform any skill, and it also decreases your ability to recall certain things. It hinders your memory, and that's where you can't remember why you walked into the kitchen or why you walked into the office, and then you kind of have that fogginess because the stress is hindering that ability there. So you understand that all of those things I just listed off, you need them to be at your peak, and you need them operating at your peak if you're going to get to where you want to be. So I know about this stuff really, really well. Years and years ago, I was a major stress head. It was so normal for me to be stressed that I didn't even realize there was another way to be. I was so stressed, I didn't always recognize I was stressed. I was running another business at the time, and even though I enjoyed the work and I was really positive, I always had this underlying stress and this underlying worry underneath, right? Constantly worrying about finances of the business, are clients happy? always thinking about work. So even on weekends, my mind would always just be thinking about work and trying to solve problems and just in my head. It took me hours to fall asleep at night, but it was funny because I was exhausted most of the time, yet it still took me ages to fall asleep. When things went wrong, I'd just freeze up. It was like my brain couldn't think for a few moments. So a problem would happen, I'd hear about it, and then I'd almost be like a stunned mullet just for a few moments, and it took a while for my brain to kind of catch up. Just freezing. One of the other patterns that popped up for me was constantly avoiding problems. So with the constant stress that I was feeling from week to week, my mind in the end goes, okay, the best way to solve this stress is just to avoid the problems. And obviously, the more you avoid problems, the more the problems stack up. So really, really bad. When you're in that kind of stress space, you don't really feel like there's a lot you can do. You think that you're stressed because there's not enough finances, not enough opportunity, or there's so much work that needs to be done, or because you have tough clients or tough people around you that are stressing you out. You're always focused on the external problems, and it's easy to blame them as the cause of your stress. I remember at one point being so tired and so burnt out. I was up every morning at 5 a.m. working through till about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. And one day I got home on the bus after doing that routine for months and months and months. I was on the bus heading home, and even though I was just sitting there on the bus, I noticed that I was short of breath, and I was just sitting there. I was tense all over, I was jittery, and at that moment I thought to myself, I can't do this anymore. And in those moments there, you have those irrational thoughts. Like I was ready to sabotage everything in the business. I was ready to quit the business, give up on it all, and just basically, I felt like I wanted to run away and just avoid it. The level of negativity that came from that constant stress was crazy. And the scary part about it was I'm a very naturally positive and optimistic person. But to have that much stress, it seems like the natural qualities, the confidence about yourself, the positivity you have, all of that kind of just gets almost pushed out of your brain because of the constant stress there. And it was even comical because the reason why I started a business to begin with is because I wanted to be free. And then I ended up locking myself into a lifestyle and a pattern of, so much stress and so much negativity. So that was like 15, 16 years ago. There was that and a few other experiences that got me really locked into finding and developing real tangible solutions to these kind of things. Because as weird as it sounds, I was totally maxed out from a stress point of view, but at the same time, I also knew that I was capable of achieving way more than I currently was. And I knew there was something weird going on there. I have way more ability, way more potential. I'm capable of achieving way more, but the stress is stopping me from really realizing that potential or accomplishing all the goals, all the dreams that are on the inside of me. So again, I really wanted to find the solutions and some real tangible solutions on how to handle these things. So if we fast forward to nowadays, I'm literally the least stressed person around. Challenges and setbacks, they still happen for me, still happen with clients, they still happen in life, but the way that I handle it is completely different now. I'm calm, I'm clear-minded, and I'm always feeling in control. I'd say that now one of my strengths is being able to be the calm in the storm. Everything around me can be falling apart, and it's happened in multiple times in my life over the last 15, 16 years since that kind of moment. Everything around me can be falling apart, and I'm able to be solid, calm, clear-minded, feeling control of myself. Finding answers and solutions when things hit the fan is something I feel like I can do no matter how bad things are getting around me. So whether it's in my life or when I'm helping clients navigate some of the big stuff, I feel like it's a real strength of mine. I tell you all of that because the 3 keys I'm sharing with you today, they're coming from lived experience. This stuff works. It's not always easy, but when you apply it to your life, it will level you up and it's going to make you more resilient. I've got a lot of tools in this area. I'm going to share more of them in future episodes, but you're not going to be ready for that more advanced stuff until you lock in these 3 keys, until you apply these 3 things. So let's dive in. So key number 1, your thoughts are adding fuel to the fire. Your thoughts will make the problem much, much worse. And I know what you're saying and what you're thinking. You're saying, Ben, but my problem is real, it's genuine. And I understand, but your thoughts will 10x your problem if you don't control them, okay? Your thoughts can 10 times the severity of the problem and make the problem almost 10 times bigger or feel 10 times bigger just by your thoughts under pressure. So stress is an internal thing, not an external thing. Stress is an internal thing. It's not an external thing. Stress happens because of how you think about the situation, how you think about the problem, how you think about the setback. For everything that is stressing you out, there is someone else who is calm while facing a similar problem. Let me say that again. For everything that is currently stressing you out, there is someone else out there in the world who is calm while facing a similar problem. So when problems happen, our tendency is to focus on the external things. It's a focus on the person who's stressing us out. It's focusing on the money or the lack of, or what's happening in the economy, or things in the business that aren't working that are external to us. There's a tendency to blame those things as the cause for our stress, but all of that stuff is the external. The internal is what's making the genuine problem much, much worse. Again, I'm not discounting the severity of the problem, but I'm saying your thoughts are adding fuel to that fire. They're making that problem even bigger. Let me show you how powerful your thoughts are. So there's a bunch of nerve fibers in the brain. It's called the corpus callosum. So what that part of your brain does is it kind of helps the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of your brain communicate with each other and passes information back and forth, right? One of the interesting things about that part of the brain is it doesn't know the difference between something that's real or something that's vividly imagined. So we know this because when we've had a nightmare at some point in our life, even though our body has been laying down, sleeping, relaxing, one of the most relaxed things we can ever do in life is sleeping. But if in our brains we're having a nightmare, which is what? A whole bunch of thoughts that are vividly imagined. And even though logically we might know there's no such thing as werewolves or whatever else, in the dream, if there's a lot of negativity, scary things happening, we wake up quickly and what's happening to our physical body? Even though we've been laying down in bed, comfortable, because of the vivid negativity of the nightmare, we wake up, our heart rate is increased, sweaty palms sometimes, shorter breathing. All these things happen, but they've all been in our head. And the reason why we can feel those kind of vivid thoughts so much is because of that nerve fiber, the nerve bundle, the corpus callosum. And that part of the brain doesn't know, hey, are we actually running away from a werewolf in real life, or is it imaginary? So that part of the brain actually says, okay, produce the stress hormone, produce the fear, produce the fight or flight. So even though externally nothing's happening, if internally the thoughts are negative, the thoughts are fearful, then that is what's going to cause the stress. That is how powerful your thoughts are. So if under stress, you're having these kind of thoughts, you'll be adding so much fuel to that fire, so much extra stress, so much extra negativity, making it so much harder for yourself to get ahead. If under stress, you're thinking the worst case scenarios, right? Even though it's in your head, you're producing more of that fear, more of that stress. If you're arguing and debating with people in your head, you're ruminating, which is where you're cycling or looping the same kind of negative thoughts around and around and around. Rumination is kind of like, you could be driving home and that person's not even there, but you're arguing with them, or you're constantly recycling a mistake that you've made and beating yourself up for it. You're at home trying to go to sleep, but your brain is just constantly looping around the same negativity. In a similar vein, if you're not switching off or letting things go, you're constantly pumping that stress hormone through your system. And we talked about already some of those things that when stress is high or stress is heightened or stress is consistent, it turns down all those abilities that we need. If you're putting too much pressure on yourself, nothing is ever good enough, all the weight of the world is on your shoulders, again, those thoughts, even though they're in your head, they're producing more stress, adding fuel to the fire. Overthinking, which not only causes analysis paralysis where you're getting in your own way, but that overthinking is, again, you're adding so much fuel to the fire, and a problem can go from a mound into a massive mountain, or a mountain of a problem can be like Mount Everest and can be really scary. There's been studies and they found that on average, you have around 90,000 thoughts per day. So you have around 90,000 thoughts per day. That's a lot of thoughts. Now, most of those thoughts you're not going to be aware of. If you were consciously, logically aware of every single thought going through your head, you wouldn't be able to function because you'd just be like basically bombarded processing your thoughts. But these thoughts are going through the back of your mind, about 90,000 of these thoughts per day. Every single one of these thoughts, whether you recognize the thought or not, every single one of those thoughts is either having an empowering effect on you mentally and emotionally, or a disempowering effect on you mentally and emotionally, because even the thoughts you're not aware that you're having, they're still producing either positivity, or they're producing more of that negativity, more of that stress, and hindering you. And that's why sometimes you'll feel flat, tired, foggy, and stressed, and you won't really know why. It's because you've had so much negativity running through your mind, or stress running through your mind. So you've got to become aware of your thoughts. Once you become aware of your thoughts, then you have to train yourself to redirect your thinking, so that way your mind is thinking or focusing on more positive, more empowering, more solution-focused things instead of the stressful negatives. So the key here is realizing that stress is more because of the internal world than it is because of the external problems happening around. And if you can control the internal, you're going to be able to then handle the external. How? Start to recognize your thought patterns. As soon as stress hits, start to notice what's going through your mind, and then start taking those thoughts captive and redirect them to calm, constructive, solution-focused thoughts. Capture, then redirect. Capture, then redirect. The more you practice this, the more you actually retrain your brain to think calm under pressure. It will take some time, but the more you redirect, the more you be training that skill and that ability until it becomes automatic and natural. Pressure hits, problem comes, challenge comes, your first thought and your psychological reflex will be to be calm, clear, and focusing on a positive outcome. So that was key number one. Realize that your thoughts are adding fuel to the fire. Key number two, focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control. People have this tendency that when they're stressed, they put all their attention or all their focus on the things that they can't control, which is actually the most hindering thing possible. Sometimes they even try to control things that they actually can't control as a way to handle the stress and to cope. So for example, some of the things that you can't control, yet the mind tends to want to focus on them under pressure. So what other people are doing or not doing. You can't control it, yet you'll focus so much on it, all your attention's on it, and then you feel disempowered or you feel frustrated, and then a lot of that negativity is coming from that. You're focused on what other people may or may not think, or may not be thinking. You're focusing on the past. So whether that's you made a massive mistake and that's caused a problem, and then you'll focus so much on that mistake, or so much on what's happened in the past, or so much on that setback, and you're focused so much and giving it your attention, of course, you're going to be stuck in stress. And of course, you're not going to be moving forward. You could be focusing on external factors like the economy or what's happening, with these challenges with the coronavirus. There is so much genuine problems that have come up in business and in life because of lockdowns and because of navigating this thing. But you'll find that so many people are getting completely frozen because all of their focus is on these external factors. And because of that, their mind goes, well, there's nothing we can do to change this. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't control the economy. We can't control lockdowns. We can't control the virus. Because of that, they become completely frozen and they're getting stuck. So again, you can be aware of those things, but if you focus on what you can't control, you're going to be completely stuck in place. That stress is going to continue to loop and you're going to be greatly hindered. In business deals, so often you'll have people who they've done their side of the deal and they're waiting for another the other side of the deal to come through, the other people to look over the contract and sign it. And because there's so much writing on it, you're constantly stressed because you're focused on something you can't control. Are they going to approve it? What are they going to say back? And the more you focus on things you can't control, the more you're going to be stressed. Let me say that again. The more you focus on things you can't control, the more you're going to feel stressed because there's nothing you can actually do to influence the situation. Some people try and control others when they are stressed. Okay, why would they do that? Well, they're doing it as a really bad coping mechanism. That's the only coping mechanism they have. They're stressed, so they try and control others to reduce their stress. They pressure them to do things their particular way. They micromanage. They criticize them and basically throw negativity at them and all that kind of stuff as a way of almost bullying to make them do what they want. And that's manipulation, but it's coming from that space of they feel stressed and they're trying to control something they can't to get rid of that stress. It's a really dangerous pattern, and it really comes again from that poor coping mechanism for stress. So I want you to be aware of that because you'll notice that in other people. And if it's in yourself, it's definitely time to get a better coping mechanism because it creates a lot of negativity and a lot of negative knock-on effects. So the principle is this: don't worry about what you can't control. Focus instead on what you can control. Don't waste energy. Don't waste time focusing on what you can't influence. Focus on your next steps. Focus on the actions that you can take, what you can do. And if there's nothing you can do about it, train yourself to let go. Because no amount of worry, no amount of anger, no amount of stress is going to help the situation. It'll actually be better for you to let it go and let the thing play out. That way, you'll be calmer, more clear-minded, and you'll be able to have more resiliency to handle whatever may happen next. So there's a few beliefs that really serve me in this area. I truly believe that every problem is temporary. Every problem is temporary. And by focusing on that mindset there, that helps me to begin to see beyond the problem, to see how things can be sorted out after this situation comes and goes. And it gives me much greater perspective, gives me level-headedness, and I'm able to kind of start to creatively find different angles to overcome the challenge or overcome the problem. So every problem, I believe, is temporary. It's going to come and it's going to go. Another belief is that there's a solution for every problem. When you have that focus that there's a solution for every problem, you're more solution-focused instead of problem-focused. Big difference there. Solution-focused, not problem-focused. Massive, massive difference. So it's important to understand that it's not always the ideal solution, not always the best solution that you could hope for, but there's always a solution that will allow you to move forward one way or another. And that's what's really important, is just moving forward in life and not being stagnant, not being held back. So these mindsets, again, they help me keep a calm perspective, help me stay creative and being able to be flexible with the situation. And that creativity and that mental agility is really what's needed to navigate roadblocks. Here are some of the things I want you to start focusing on instead when the challenges hit, when the stress is there. Obviously, focusing on the solution. What's the solution here? Focus on the next steps that you can do. Focus on how you want to be responding to the challenge. In what way do you want to act, or how do you want to carry yourself as you navigate this? Focus on perhaps who you can reach out to. Who's an expert in this area where my challenge is, and what advice could they possibly give me to implement in this time? Focus on the learning. What can I learn from this to be more equipped or to be better in the future? What can I learn here so that way if this problem is to ever happen again, how can I navigate it differently, or what do I need to learn here? Really empowering focus that will help you move forward. Focus on your thoughts, because they should be and are designed to be under your influence. They shouldn't be controlling you. And of course, focus on your attitude. There might be a massive problem. It might not be your fault. It might be a really hectic problem, but you can always focus on your attitude. And that will be a massive, massive, massive help to you. So key number 2 is to focus on what you can control. This is going to decrease the stress, give you that sense of being calm, feel more in control, and give you more of a clear mind. Focus on what you can control. Key number 3, think long-term solutions. Think long-term solutions. Stress is a form of fear. And what fear will tempt you to do is rush. When you're stressed, you'll be more likely to make a rush decision. The rush decision usually manifests itself as a quick fix. Quick fixes typically cause other near-term problems. You might temporarily solve the problem, but you'll be more than likely creating another 2, 3, 4, 5 problems as a result. When you're in a high stress point, the brain just wants to get rid of the negative feelings, and it doesn't really consider the ramifications as much as it really should. Because you're in the stress point, the brain has one priority: it's fight, it's flight, it's flee, it's trying to solve the initial problem. So the tendency there for the brain is quick fix, quick fix, quick fix. And any ramifications of what that will mean next week or next month or even next year, your brain won't really naturally consider that. So you really have to be aware of that. And when pressure and stress comes, you want to be thinking long-term solutions, okay? So a few examples of the quick fix. I've seen this happen so many times before. One of your employees is stressing you out. And because of the stress, you snap and you just fire them immediately. Instead of performance managing them or having the hard conversations or giving them more training, all of that stuff just seems too hard in the moment, and then they'll just fire them in order to remove the stress. I've seen that so many times. The challenge is that you can create all these other problems, like the obvious unfair dismissal case, but also then you might be getting rid of someone without a replacement in place. So then all of a sudden you put more stress on other areas of the organization, other areas of the company. So again, it was a quick fix, but you're creating multiple problems. People or businesses get in debt, and then they try and borrow more money in order to pay for the debt. And if it's not done in a smart way, it's like, yes, the immediate bills are paid for, but now there are bigger ones coming. I've seen this so many times before as well, where we have business owners or people with bad credit, and then all of a sudden bills are coming in, they can't pay for the bills, then they just go, you know what, I'll apply for a credit card. They won't worry about the super high interest, and then all of a sudden they're trying to pay down their debt, but then they obviously have the bigger debts coming, and it's I'll handle that later kind of mindset, but again, causing bigger problems. And all of those kind of things come from that quick fix mentality with fear. I'm saying some basic, obvious examples because then you'll understand what I'm saying and you can understand where possibly you're using some quick fixes. Here's one quick fix you might not have thought about. You get home at night, you're stressed, and you quick fix in the form of a bottle of wine. Now, I'm not against drinking. I don't care if you drink, if you don't drink, that doesn't really matter. But what is a problem is that if you're using alcohol as a stress coping mechanism, it's a quick fix and it's not a good solution. So yes, you can have the bottle of wine, you might decrease your stress, you might fall asleep faster, but that is a quick fix that is causing all these other performance problems moving forward, creating problems of low energy the next day or the next week, creating low health. You have reduced brain function because of all the alcohol, too much alcohol too often. And if it's a nightly fix, it's a quick fix, but you see that there's all these performance patterns that are going to be reduced because of that quick fix mentality. And a lot of the reason why when I work with high performers who just have a habit of drinking a lot of wine, a lot of alcohol every night, there's just their quick fix way of how do I turn off the stress? And the easiest way to solve that challenge is not actually going to AA meetings or Alcohol Anonymous. You can totally do that if you have problems in that area and you feel like that will help. But most of the time, alcohol or binge eating junk food or chocolate, a lot of that is coming from a stress a stress coping mechanism, and it's the easiest, quickest way that your brain has to try and turn off the stress. But again, it's a quick fix, and there are other problems that you're creating. So quick fixes, they might make you feel better. They might temporarily take away the pain, but they usually create way more problems. So this is actually creating a life of stress, and it's not creating a life of success. So what you want to start to do, again, think long term. Start to get proactive. What are the patterns of stress in your life? What is the long-term solution here? How can you grow personally? Or how can you grow as a leader? How can you develop the business? What kind of things can you put in place that will solve these challenges from continually popping up? When you start to think like this, if you've been stressed for a long time, this can really be daunting because there might be a lot of things that need attention and things that need to be put in place. But if you don't think about the long-term solutions, you're going to continue to find yourself facing the same problems and challenges in different ways, but they'll just keep popping up again and again and again. So you got to think strategically and develop a plan to make long-term changes. So one more point on this. Strategic action trumps a lot of stress. Let me say that again. Strategic action trumps a lot of success. Strategic action is not the quick fix mentality. It's strategic. It's not panic. In my experience, for every overwhelming problem, there's usually 1 to 3 things that you need to do that will fix 80% of that problem. I'm going to say that again. For every overwhelming problem, there's usually 1 to 3 things that you need to do that will fix 80% of the problem. Once the 80% has been handled, the last 20% becomes really manageable. Those 1 to 3 actions that are strategic, that will solve 80% of the problem, then all of a sudden you can manage the last 20%. So I want you to recognize the common patterns of stress, look for long-term solutions for these problems, things that need to change, things that need to be done differently, and then find your 1 to 3 strategic actions that are going to solve 80% of the problem. Key number 3, think long-term solutions. So there you have it. That might be a lot to digest, but it's going to be a game changer for you. So to help, I've created a worksheet that you can download for free at www.highperformanceunlocked.com. That's going to help you retain what you've heard, and I'll also give you some practical steps to help you work through everything that you heard. So go to the site now while it's fresh in your mind and then get that worksheet. So to recap, number 1, realize that your thoughts are adding fuel to the fire. Number 2, focus on what you can control. And number 3, think long-term solutions. These are the 3 keys that you want to really train yourself in and implement into your life, especially under pressure. If you do that, as you get better and better and better at those 3 keys, then what you're going to find is that the things that are stressing you out today, in the future, won't even budge you. That resilience, that confidence, and that strength of mind will be an invaluable asset for you. So I trust that you got something from today. I would love to hear your thoughts and your progress with this. So feel free to reach out to me on social media, or you can also reach out to me via the contact form on the website. I'd love to hear your progress and any questions you may have, and I'd love to answer those questions for you. So go to the website, highperformanceunlocked.com, get the worksheet, and go ahead and apply these keys. So big love, and I'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to High Performance Unlocked with Ben Elliott. If you're enjoying the show, let us know by subscribing and leaving a review. For more information, visit highperformanceunlocked.com.